Episode 10 of ReZero second season part 2 is definitely going to go down as one of the greatest episodes of the series by far, at least for me anyways. Just a really nice mixture of great fantastic action scenes, amazing choreography in the combat itself, great reveals, like technically reveals, some big emotional impact moments, and as a lot of these series like to do, a nasty cliffhanger. So all the makings of an incredible episode that I'm sure nobody will forget anytime soon. But wow, yeah. So yeah, technically opens up with the fight between Garf and Elsa going at it. Nice little jab in her eye, restoring. Of course, that's the part where we kind of reveal that Elsa is able to regenerate herself. She is apparently part vampire. Garf kind of notes this, and she technically agrees with it. And he kind of points out the fact that there was a witch once that was a vampire, and she died. So, of course, you can die too. Jumping from there, we go to Amelia. No, I'm sorry. We jump to Subaru and Otto and Petra as they're fighting, or at least fleeing from the beast from Melee. And it's one of those kind of make an assumption, and you know what you make yourself into, and that was what Subaru does. He kind of just there's an ongoing trope, of course, with the isekai shows. A lot of these isekais are characters being overpowered because they know science, current time science, and he tries to put this into play by making a dust fire, and it didn't really work out very well for him. But of course, Otto backs him up with some oil and ends up making the entire building set fire. So yeah, I got a kick out of this point because I'm. Are they trying to make Rem into like a cocoon that sticks to everybody? Like I didn't say anything last episode when Frederica gave Rem to Subaru, and she's kind of walks up and this little bump, and he's on her back, or she's on his back, and I was like, maybe it's just one of those things where she put him on there and then kind of wrapped it around really quickly, but yeah, now Subaru does it with Ota, just walks up and just boop, and she's attached to his back. So I'm like, what does she have, like adhesive on the back of her or something like that? She's attaches to anything. So we have like a REM backpack now. So that's a thing that we're apparently trying to establish with the ReZero universe at this point. So yeah, that's weird. But anyways, we jump from here over to Amelia, who is now activating the third and final trial, the vision of a future. And I was surprised because I said in my last impressions that I was pretty sure that we weren't going to see anything at all. Instead, we did see something, but it was very vague. And this is where it's kind of I almost wanted to rewatch it just to kind of see if I missed something, but I tried to go through it slowly, pausing through the dialogue that was going on, trying to find something, but pretty much all that we had was the initial shot where she's inside of what looks like a ruins of a house. There's blood everywhere. There's blood on her, and she's saying over and over again how much she didn't like you when I didn't like you the first time I met you, and I dislike you, and pretty much insinuating that something happened to somebody, and there's blood everywhere, and that she's claiming. And the assumption could be that from the moment that she met Subaru, I doubt that. It could be Rosewall. Maybe she's the one that kills Rosewall. That could be a possibility they're trying to portray there, is that they're trying to insinuate that she killed somebody, and it's somebody that she'd never liked, and it's trying to imply that it may be Subaru, but I doubt it's probably going to be the case that it's Subaru. But yeah, very vague future look. That was the one thing that I really didn't predict, is that it was going to be a very vague seeing into the future. And that's definitely what they ended up doing here. Following that, it was like a whole bunch of random dialogue phrases from different characters in the show. I mean, one to note was Garf saying, "I'm going through my promise to kill you, Subaru," or something like that. And I guess what I kind of got out of it in the end was like a barrage of very vague dialogues, or a barrage of possibilities. And that's where I'm feeling very kind of let down with this situation, because granted, you can say it's a good thing that he didn't do the future that's very vivid, and we now know something that's going to have to end up getting changed, and then thus it's not the future anyways. It did exactly that, and it kind of just lays it out, because Minerva runs into Amelia right after this, and Minerva says that, "Are you afraid of it?" And she's like, "No, because it's a possibility, right? So we can just not do it." it's very disappointing because it's like, well, what was the point? Like, what was the point at this point? We've tried to. It could either have been the one that you see, but it's you can't avoid unless it's no real point in showing it. But to show it and say, well, it can be changed, makes it absolutely pointless. And I was kind of let down in that situation. But it's okay because even though I was let down by the situation, it was quickly shoved under the rug because right after that, of course, like I said, Amelia goes to the tea party location where Ekidona usually sits. Ekidona's not there. Amelia's looking for her. And as she reaches for a cookie, Minerva shows up behind her, pokes her in the back of the head and says not to turn around. And so Amelia doesn't turn around. And they start talking about what she's seeing. Are you afraid? No, I'm not afraid. I have people with me. And Minerva says, you're strong. And that's something that, is not that your mother lacks, basically. And I'm like, oh, crap. They're laying out right now that either Minerva's close to the one that... And then I kind of was thinking, are we going back to Ekidona being a possibility? But no, it really quickly shifted to, have we pretty much at this point confirmed that Minerva is Amelia's mother? And I was funny because I was like, okay, they're being vague with it. It could still be anybody. Minerva just knows her. And we're establishing that Minerva has a relationship with the mother and that Minerva knows how her mother acts, Amelia's mother's acts. And so she's pointing this out. But the fact that Minerva was so intent on Amelia not turning around, I was pretty much at this point convinced that they're making out that Minerva is her mother. And of course, it wasn't until the point in which, what was it? Amelia's like, she's like, well, don't you want to know more about your mother? And she's like, because she said, your mother's like that. And Amelia almost turned around. She said, don't turn around. And she says, well, don't you want to know more about her? And Amelia says, no, because Fortuna is my mother. And Minerva starts breaking down. And I was like, bam, confirmed. Pretty much, we've gotten everything except for somebody specifically saying that Minerva is her mother. And I'm perfectly fine with that because I think Minerva is awesome. I love her character design. I love her Seiyu. I love her personality. I love the idea that that the story is kind of technically portraying that all these witches are technically good people with good intentions, but that their powers cause destruction. And what I'm thinking they're eventually gonna get to at some point is revealing that the reason why they were all gotten rid of is because they were all causing destruction. They were causing chaos trying to help. But yeah, Minerva is like starting to break down, and she's like, well, this is kind of a positive thing that came out of this trial that Ekidona did, that's insinuating that because Ekidona put her through this trial, Amelia was able to essentially give up on finding her actual mother, I guess is the best way I can put it. I'm struggling with a way of describing it, but essentially that Ekidona gave Amelia a mother that she can latch onto that existed in her life, and so that she doesn't have to worry about Amelia feeling like she lacked a mother. And again, breaking down at the same time, Amelia turns around, she embraces her, says she's a bad girl. Like I said, unless we're talking like super like close aunt levels here of nurturing relationship, this is total mother nature right here. And mother nature, not mother nature. And so I'm like, holy crap. Oh, it's gotta be Minerva. I'm so like mixed emotion because I'm like, it's crazy because it's like, there was a thought that there's gonna be one of the witches, even if it's not Ekidona. Satala is too easy. And to have it be one of like the least that you would think was fantastic. It was a fantastic reveal. Again, if it's 100% sure, it's not set in stone. It's just everything's pointing to it. It's hard to deny that did not completely say this is her mother. And yeah, I'm actually thrilled. I thought it was a fantastic scene. I thought it was way cute. I hope we see more Minerva in the future. I thought she was fantastic when we first met her. I just want to see more of her now. Really, really interesting reveal. But yeah, I got to move on. I have to move on. I think that was all that was in there. Yeah, she was pointing out that Ekidona, because Ekidona wasn't there, because she believes that she gave her a hard time, or that the trials were a hard time for her. And this is the other kind of really, kind of a frustrating part, because after Amelia leaves, after Minerva kind of shoos her through the door, uh, of course she's passed the trial. Amelia walks up to the central core of this whole force field, and Ekidona is laying down inside the chamber. And this is the frustrating part, because they again refuse to show the face of Ekidona. If this is Ekidona, they refuse to show her face. Just like the flashbacks were showing with Ryuzu, they never showed Ekidona's face, specifically her eyes. And what was puzzling here is that Amelia doesn't even recognize her. She doesn't know who she is. Like, you can see, like, the characteristic, the hair, the dress, the hair ornament, everything screams Ekidona. But obviously her face is so different, or that she's not seeing the same thing we're seeing, she doesn't even recognize her. And that's what's puzzling. Like, she doesn't say, "Well, I thought it was Ekidona, but it's not Ekidona." She literally says, "Who is this?" And that's like a really puzzling, and it's frustrating because they didn't show it. And it's like, can we show this already? And all I can think of is they're going to show it next episode, because they're, things are going downhill with Rosewall. That maybe they'll show another flashback and really finally reveal what is so different about this person that we think is Ekidona and the actual current Ekidona. Like, what is so different about her appearance? Who is she actually? What does her face look like that looks like possibly a character we can't reveal yet? It is it is kind of frustrating at this point. And to just have her like, "Oh, I guess the seal's gone, I'm walking away." I was like, what the heck? Oh, it's so frustrating at that point. So frustrating. So frustrating. As Amelia walks out, the storm has started. So obviously, I don't know if Rosewall during the combat with Ram just it activated while they were fighting. I think I mentioned the idea that I think it's going to activate while they're fighting. I don't think he necessarily needs to touch anything and not be distracted. So it looks, but it's puzzling, because it's a blizzard storm there, but where Ram and Puck and Rosewall are fighting, it's not stormy. So I don't know if they just moved. They're so far away over where the core was, away from there, or what, or it's just so centralized at that location they don't see it over here. But despite that, yeah. Jumping forward, we have the actual fight between Garf and Elsa, and this is where things get super crazy. Absolutely terrific fight, just crazy stuff happening, just the punching back and forth. Like I said, really cool choreography, a lot of cool little segments thrown in the fight. We finally get the reveal that Elsa, we kind of get a little backstory to her and why she essentially is the way she is. She talks about how she was abandoned as a child in a very, really cold location up in Gustico. And she's stealing from people in order to live, and she eventually gets caught by a shop owner. The shop owner tries to do something to her. He strips her, and obviously probably trying to rape her. And she grabs some glass and guts him. And this kind of triggers her fascination with guts because of how warm it was. She claims this was the first moment she ever, had a joyous moment in her life. Like, this is the first time she ever experienced joy, was that warmth of his innards all over her hands and keeping her warm. And that's what started her obsession with gutting people and stuff. So it was cool, interesting to kind of get a reasoning behind her. Of course, with most cases, it's frustrating because it's like you're similar to Goose. Now you're trying to make me sympathize with Elsa. Don't stop. But no, at some point they're exchanging blows, and Elsa managed to shatter the gauntlets that Garf is using. She's looking like she's going down, so Melee shows up with her hippo and attacks Garf. Garf freaking just full on tiger mode, jumps up, twists his neck and everything. That was just amazing. Yeah, and then that was kind of when they finally exchanged the final blows between Garf and Elsa. Both of them, and it was funny because they almost had like this brief moment of her like having some kind of loving satisfaction to him, and him kind of be like, no, look, I already have somebody I like. And she's like, oh, that's a disappointment. That's okay, because all I'm really obsessed with is your guts. But they still have like this goofy kind of almost romantic thing where they're both like, it's almost as if they're kissing each other on top of each other, but it's actually them both chomping down on each other's shoulders. But yeah, then Garf gets up and just drops the hippo on top of her. I'm curious how many people out there believe that Elsa's dead. I mean, we technically had her frozen solid into crystal and shatter, and she was like kind of reborn. Now, granted, what Betty did to Elsa could have been like to an after image or something like that. Like Elsa just nearly got away, but it was almost implying like she regenerated herself. But yeah, the idea, and now granted, you can believe the idea that maybe him crushing her with a hippo makes it a little more difficult for her to put herself back together, regenerate. But I don't believe that's it for Elsa. I mean, like I said, if she lasted through what Betty did to her, I doubt that a hippo landing on her is going to do anything. Unless somehow Garf put a curse on her by biting her. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think she's dead. I really don't think she's dead. But that was a fantastic fight. All mad respect for Garf. It's so funny how much I fall in love with Garf. He is so awesome. But that goes down to our final scene, which was with Ram, Roswald, and Puck fighting it out. And this is the part where Puck kind of susses out, yeah, you put that curse on Amelia and everything like that. And he's like, yeah, you were, I guess those memories that you're recalling are finally released. A little bit of exchange between the two of them. Puck's obviously pretty ticked off. And this is at the point where we have Ram basically confess her feelings for Roswald. And this is funny because especially with the last episode with Ram, asking Amelia for help, I really wasn't sure if she was manipulating Amelia. It really did seem like it was true because she hid, and then later on, the conversation between Ram and Roswald seemed like he was, apprehending her for going and bowing her head to Amelia. But there was still a little thought in my head of like, does she really care for Roswald, or is she just trying to stop this? And this is where it kind of became concrete. No, she confesses straight up her love for Roswald, and that's why she's doing it. And Roswald's like, you don't make any sense. You tried to kill me. You know I killed your family. You want your revenge. And I guess the joke is that it definitely is a case of like Stockholm syndrome. Like, I guess you've been with him for so long and relied on each other for so long, codependency for so long, that she eventually fell in love with him. But yeah, it was something he couldn't understand at all. Like, no, you want your revenge. You're deluded. This cannot be a true. I mean, you can't love me, kind of thing. But yeah, they do a big fight out. Rim grabs his book, throws it in the fire, and then it cuts away. I'm so mad. Like, I literally was screaming. I was so mad. How can you leave it like that? I honestly, let me be completely brutal honest with everybody. I don't really trust this writer's ability to kill off characters anymore. Like, it literally, the system that he has put into play is built around the idea of being able to undo deaths. And it's really, and there's been several times where I feel like they're going to have that moment that they go, okay, you reset and it didn't fix this issue. And I think he did it with Rim. He reset and that person's still dead. It never really happens. Every reset, he does it perfectly, and nobody that is of importance really dies. So I don't believe there's going to be a reset because there's been so much stuff that has been done. Like, so much stuff has been sussed out at this point. So many character developments. Like Amelia and Subaru's little kind of exchange, getting over that. So much stuff, so much character development that has happened in this arc alone, that a reset would feel like so much has been lost. Just for a writer's standpoint, like, yeah, it would be tragic and it would be crazy to have to start everything over and try to find a new direction at this point. It's technically the formula, but there'd be so much developments that would have to be redone that it almost feels frustrating. Like, technically, that's something that's been done in the past. Like, they've had great moments with, Subaru. The mansion was a huge example of this. The mansion was essentially him going to each person, getting close to them, and then it resetting. How many times has he gotten close to Beatrice and we had to have it reset? But this just feels like on a grander scale, so much stuff has been uncovered. I mean, so many characters themselves have been uncovered that I feel like a reset is just impossible at this point. So I don't think anything happened to Ram. I honestly don't think anything happened to Ram. I honestly think that she's going to be pretty tore up. I don't think she's going to be dead. But at the same time, I don't think that the writer really has the guts to kill a character like Ram off. And it's sad to say that, and I don't mean that really in a negative way. It's fine. It's fine that a writer is unwilling to kill off characters. That a writer would give essentially plot armor to characters because of waifu reasons. I mean, Ram is a very popular character. If he was willing to kill off Ram, now granted, if he does kill off Ram, it definitely opens up the book, and it definitely will change everybody's mind on this writer's writing. It would basically be him saying, "Look, I'm not a coward. I'll kill these characters off if I have to. Like if their story is asking for it, which technically it's begging it. Ram is basically being begged to be killed off at this point, though. Let's be brutally honest, because Rosewald is so far into this at this point. It's almost to the point now where it almost feels like Rosewald is going to have to be killed off. But if Rosewald can't be fixed and he has to be killed, I don't think Ram will be able to be stuck around. I think Ram would be a casualty in this process. Like if Rosewald's going to die, Ram can be killed. So it's a frustrating thing. But yeah, it was a crazy scene though. Just her tossing the book in the fire. She's already coughing up blood, and then he was like psychotically angry because obviously this is the book, this is his treasure, this is his life. Everything up till now for the last 400 years has been this book. This is his tie to his loved one, his beloved. Shooting off all these little flashbacks of his relationship with Echidna, her coming to save him basically, and then this really quick shot of like this fireball hitting Ram. This is a passion-filled, hatred-filled ball of fire just consuming Ram. And I'm like, oh man, no. And then bam, cast scroll. I'm like, no, why? Oh, I was furious, and I wanted to tell somebody. That's what this video is for. And I try to text Chris, but I'm like, all I'm gonna be able to do is say crap that ending because I know he hasn't watched the episode yet. So yeah. What an episode. Like I said, definitely goes down there as one of the best episodes by far of ReZero. Just like I said, just a fantastic, perfect mixture of everything. Some good comedy, some good drama, impactful moments, heart-dropping moments, cute little reveals, possibly with Minerva. Just, yeah. We need to know what happened to Ram. We need to know who is laying in that chamber. If it's not Echidna, we need 100% confirmation of Minerva. We need Minerva to be around. That'd be great. But yeah, great stuff. Super excited for more. And like I said, unfortunately, we only have 2 more episodes. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of the episode. What do you guys think? Do you think it's confirmed Minerva? What do you think? Maybe? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a like if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And as always, I love all of our supporters. I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.